Fraser, third founder of Garage Gym Life Media. And I often tell you guys about products that we're not getting paid to promote simply because I think they're cool and interesting. It kind of goes with the territory of being a media company. That's why the Thermabell Barbell Warmer has piqued my interest, even though I'm not getting paid to promote it, and I don't live in a cold enough climate to use one myself. I do, however, know plenty of home gym owners who train in weather that's so cold that it's actually dangerous to touch the barbell until you warm it up. I'm talking about temperatures that are so low that you could peel the skin off your hands if you grab a cold bar with your bare hands. I actually talked to the inventor of this product, Burton, back when he was still doing his Kickstarter. Although we weren't able to put that interview out because of technical difficulties, I was able to catch up to him to find out everything that's been going on since the Kickstarter ended, how he got hooked up with PRX Performance, plus ask him some questions that we've gotten from people along the way. But first, check out this short video clip that'll show you the Thermabell Barbell Warmer in action, and then we'll go straight into my interview with Greg, where we'll try to answer all of the questions you may have.
This is the Barbell Warmer. It was created with the sole purpose of allowing you to lift comfortably despite cold weather conditions. My name is Greg Burton, and I'm the developer and founder of Thermabell. Most of us want to stay in shape and keep up our training year-round. Unfortunately, if you've ever lifted in a home or garage gym during the winter, you know that a cold barbell can be a big inhibiting factor. This heated sleeve allows you to lift in freezing conditions so that you can continue to maximize your performance and avoid any limitations due to the cold. Our patent-pending design allows the barbell warmer to easily and securely surround a barbell, heating efficiently. While you're attending class, getting a good night's rest, or waiting in hours of traffic after a long day of work, your barbell will be at home heating up. And when you get back to the weights, just unzip and lift. We know life gets in the way, so if you can't make it to the gym as planned, no worries. Our controller has an automatic timed off switch, which helps you save energy and prolongs the life of the product. Setup takes less than 15 seconds, and it's easy. There is no hassle involved. Just attach the Velcro strap, fasten the zipper, and set your desired time. And when you're ready, come back and lift with a warm barbell. If you've ever felt the pain of trying to lift a cold barbell, or you're starting your own gym and you foresee this problem, the Barbell Warmer is for you. After 2 years of research, testing, and development, we can't wait to get the Barbell Warmer in your hands.
Hey, Greg, man, I really appreciate you coming back and giving me a mulligan on this because our first interview last year, Zoom wasn't as advanced as it is now, and so the audio quality just wasn't good. So thank you for giving me another shot at this because I really do want to help get the information about this product out.
Of course. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Like I said, I already knew a fair amount about your product and about your background because we did an interview last year, but for the sake of the people who don't live with me and so never got to see that video, briefly go into the product and just tell me what is the Thermabell Barbell Warmer and what does it do?
Yeah, the Thermabell Barbell Warmer is an electric heated sleeve that wraps around the barbell similar to a heated jacket. Zips right up. So most lifters will put it on either 30 minutes before their workout, or sometimes they just finish their workout the day before and they zip it up, and it heats the bar up to a nice warm toasty temperature. So when they get back to working out, they've got a warm barbell. It's typically for people lifting in their garage gym where it's cold, it's not heated. That's typically where they're running into that problem of having a cold barbell that either is just not comfortable, causes pain, or it is actually interrupting their workout where they're not able to hold on to the barbell as long as they'd like to, or their focus is more on their freezing cold hands versus their lifts, which is really the most important part.
As you said, it is a barbell warmer, and immediately some people have two. I think there's one of three reactions whenever I've brought it up to people. The first one is, well, that's not necessary. And I say those trolls aren't your target audience anyway, because they probably live somewhere like me where it's not cold enough to want to have to warm your barbell. I can get away with, like, I'm in my garage right now and I don't even have the heater on. I have just this hoodie and that's it, and it's fine. And then the second audience, which is your target market, are people like Babatunde Ayawinka, who is one of our contributors. He lives in Minnesota. There's other people I've seen who, it's like 0 degrees with something you're familiar with, as we'll get into later. It's 0 degrees and they're training. Or Eric Ruin, who trains in Norway, at the foot of a mountain, and I say Norway, so everybody understands that's cold, right? He trains at the foot of a mountain with, waist high snow. That's your target audience. And then you have another group of people who are like concerned about safety. So the last two groups are who I care about. Their hesitation might be like, well, does this thing actually work? So talk about how a Southern California kid developed, Southern California kid like you got in a situation where you had to do the research to create a heated jacket for your barbell.
Exactly. I grew up in Southern California, where I still ran into the problem because I grew up in the high desert. So the barbell would still get pretty cold to the point where we'd have to wait until the afternoon to lift when it was actually sitting in the sun for a period of time. But after I went to college, we had a really nice gym at my university. But I started training with an Olympic lifting team out there, Olympic weightlifting team.
So you have to tell people where the college was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Everybody's thinking, okay, yeah, he said it was cold, but California. And I know that California can get cold, but still, they're like, all right, man, yeah, whatever. It was cold.
Yeah.
Sure, buddy. All right.
So this is Eastern Idaho. So if you think Yellowstone or the Teton Mountains out there, those are all within an hour or two of my university. So super cold. So there was times where I'd walk to class and it's -20 or so Fahrenheit.
Okay.
So really cold. So we started training in an old auto garage, and it was tin walls, no insulation whatsoever. And we were having to throw everything in front of a space heater like everybody else does. And so at that point, that's not really where it started to evolve. I kind of had the thought, like, that's surprising nobody came up with anything yet. But later I started physical therapy school down in Utah, and I was watching a CrossFit video in between studying, and they were interviewing Matt Fraser, who was talking about how he was moving from Vermont to Tennessee. And he was talking about how it was a big issue for him because he'd have to wait a half hour before starting his workouts just because the barbell was so cold and it was kind of interrupting his actual training. So to me, it's like, okay, that's like Michael Jordan saying he couldn't start playing basketball because there was an issue with the basketball,
Right.
And I was like, okay, nobody's come up with an issue. So, or with a solution to this, I've got to figure something out. And so the rest of physical therapy school was, studying physical therapy itself, but during my times that I had some free time was figuring out how can I create a product that would solve this issue, because Matt Fraser's running into the problem, I'm running into the issue. There's got to be plenty of other people out there doing the same thing.
Somebody who lives in these areas is already familiar with all of the ideas. So like using like the little handheld torch, setting it in front of a stove. I mean, there are even stories for people who are fans of old time physical culture and old weightlifting history. The guys from York Barbell would, they were going to the Olympics and they had two bars. One bar was the bar that everybody was working out on, and the other bar was the warm-up bar. So you walk in and the warm-up bar is sitting in front of the stove and it just warmed up. And then the other bar was warm because people had just been using it. So you had to time your workout to get there, use the warm-up bar, and be done in time so that when the last guy got done using the workout bar, you immediately jumped on it because you didn't want it to cool off, right? So think about how many decades that is I'm talking about. Like that's 1940s to 2021 that we've been waiting for a solution like this. Did it intimidate you, especially since you jumped into this without a ton of business background? You had some, but not a ton of it. Did it not intimidate you to say like, well, how am I going to be the one that's figured out something that nobody else has figured out? Or was it more like you're like, well, obviously it's up to me because nobody else has figured it out? Which way did you look at it?
So I did a lot of research to see if anybody had come up with anything. There was really nothing but these kind of quick fixes. I found things like people putting wet towels into the microwave and then wrapping their barbell with it. Or for a while, I did the whole bring your barbell in and out of the house kind of thing. When, we got dents in the walls to show that I tried doing that for a while. It doesn't work out great.
Yeah.
But yeah, the space heater, there's a whole bunch of different options out there. And it was a little daunting at first trying to figure out how to get this to work. I went through several prototypes, dozens of them, to see what's the best way to get a piece of material to be able to wrap around such a small round piece of equipment. And so there's all these different issues where I kept running into them, and it was kind of this, oh, maybe this isn't going to work kind of thing. But eventually we were able to figure out a way to fasten it to the barbell, which worked out really well. It makes it quick and easy to use. And without the business experience, yeah, it was a little bit challenging just as far as learning. But I have a brother who's a business guy, so I do always bounce ideas off of him. E-commerce isn't really his field, I guess. But he has helped me a lot along the way as far as kind of guiding me in what direction to start with things. But in physical therapy school, when I was working at different clinics and things, every time I was driving back and forth, I'm listening to e-commerce, business, podcasts, and trying to soak up as much as I could. And it's been a big learning experience for the last couple of years.
You're starting from absolute scratch. It's not like you saw something like your product and said, well, let me make it better. You're like coming from it with zero. Okay, how do I make this work? How do I warm this thing up? So how did you get to from I need a warm barbell to where we are now?
It was largely just trial and error. So, I mean, I would just look online and see what similar things are out there. You know, electric blankets are one thing that people do to try to get some heat to the barbell. So that's something I played around with. And so I actually just threw away this giant box like last week or two, just full of wires and controllers and electric heated blankets and pads. And it was a lot of tinkering. I mean, I was buying like those reptile heating things for people who own like iguanas. I was trying all sorts of things, whatever I could find. And when something stuck, I tried to take that information that I got and applied it to the kind of the next step with it. And so it was just a lot of tinkering around and seeing what works and what doesn't.
All right, so now let's address the safety crowd, because I said those are the two groups. We just talked about the people who are like, well, will this work? Actually, there's one more final thing for the people who are like, well, will this work? What's the coldest temperature that you've tested it in?
Personally, -5 Fahrenheit.
All right, and what temperature was it able to warm the barbell up to?
Still got to 105.
Nice. All right. So there you go. All right. Now let's talk about safety, because you just said you made a piece of metal 105 degrees. So let's talk about safety, because you say, and we ran a video at the beginning of this as part of the intro, showing the, you know, like the sort of the process. You can get up, go turn it on, go to work, and come back home and use it. So let's talk about safety. There's an automatic shut off. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so the device is set, there's 3 different time settings, 24 hours, 12 hours, and 6 hours. So all you do is you hit the button and it automatically turns on the device. At the end of that time setting, it'll just turn off automatically. So John, if you're working out, you actually end up going to a cold place and getting a workout there.
I get lost.
You would just hit the button, it'd run for the 24 hours. You can go to work, you can go to school, do whatever you need to do during that time, run your podcast show. And then when you get back, you just unzip it. It's going to be 105 degrees. But say you didn't get back, it's automatically going to shut off at 24 hours, unless you chose the other 2 time settings.
All right.
So yeah, that way it's kind of a peace of mind, I guess you can say. You don't have to worry necessarily that it's running all day if you weren't able to get home at a decent time.
The other thing I remember asking you about, because we do have a fair amount of people who work out outdoors. And so they're, I mean, to me, they still fit in the subcategory of people who work out where it's cold, right? But they work out outdoors. And so they have to deal with moisture. Let's just say moisture. So snow, rain, sleet, you know, all the different things that make me happy to have my gym inside. But I remember asking you about this, but I actually don't really remember your specific answer. So what is your safety precaution for this product getting wet? Because it is plugged into your house.
Yeah, no, we advise not to get it wet. My personal one has gotten wet and it's worked just fine afterwards and even during that. But right now it's not designed to get wet. So we always advise to keep it away from water sources, lift in your garage, lift in your home gym instead of having it outside. If there's going to be snow and rain getting on it. If you're just lifting outside and it's able to stay dry, that's going to be just fine.
Okay, so so I'm thinking about Michael Wales, who's in Oklahoma, and it gets cold there, but his gym is out back on his back deck, and so he's got a roof, you know, and actually he puts a tarp down, whatever. But so you would just say, okay, look, put it under a tarp or something like that to make sure that it stays dry while it's trying to warm up.
Yeah.
I know shipping's probably the big one, but what are some challenges you're facing in terms of getting your product from people's hands here in North America. I'm assuming Canadians are allowed to buy it too. But I mentioned Norway, and surprisingly enough, my son is the one that reminded me that Greenland is actually not that far from the United States. If you look at the distance, I was like, really? Because the first thing I think of is, okay, well, it's wintertime in other places at different times of the year. So, but what are some challenges that you're facing to trying to get it to cold climates, around the world?
So first off, Canada is actually we're not shipping to Canada just because of the certification requirements for that.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so yeah, right now, if we were to try to ship to Canada, it would take quite a while to even get the ball rolling with that.
Okay.
So it'd also probably not even be profitable for us. It'd probably cost us to ship there to get a product over there.
So Canadians have to come here, buy one, smuggle it across the border. I'm starting to see a story here. All right. They have to come here, sneak it across the border, create an underground market there. Let's talk offline.
Yeah. So we've actually had a few customers who I've talked to after the product's been purchased, and they say, hey, I'm in Canada. I've got one of these. It's awesome. My cousin bought it for me for Christmas and shipped it over. But legally, as a company right now, we can't because of the certifications required by Canada.
Okay.
But there's a whole long process just for electronics to get into Canada that we haven't done yet. And that goes the same for the UK and most of Europe. They've got different certifications that they require for electronics. And so some of those are little hurdles that we need to get through before we can do that next year. Otherwise, we would be doing it right away.
So when we spoke, you were in the middle of your Kickstarter and you were trying to, get the Kickstarter going. And we did the interview, like I said, and then I saw that the Kickstarter ended and it was unsuccessful. And I know that had to be a gut punch, but it obviously didn't stop you because next thing I know, you've got this product for sale, not only on your own website, but you've also got it is also for sale on the prxperformance.com website. So talk about first of all, what are your feelings when that Kickstarter didn't work?
Yeah, it felt like a little gut punch. But considering everything that I had going on at that time, I wasn't able to dedicate everything I wanted to the Kickstarter. At that time that I spoke with you, I was doing kind of my final project for physical therapy school. I was working on finding a job, moving to a new state,
okay,
and dealing with a baby, and all these things were going on, and a new baby on the way as well.
Oh wow!
So
okay, congratulations.
We had all this going on, and then I was still trying to do the Kickstarter at the same time. So they typically suggest that you dedicate like 16 hours a day during a Kickstarter to just that. I was dedicating not nearly enough to do that.
Okay.
And so we didn't have enough reach, which was one thing I took into consideration after the Kickstarter failed. So I was a little disappointed, but I kind of expected we wouldn't quite get huge numbers like I was hoping for. But that kind of gave me an idea in terms of, how many people are interested. Is the product validated at all? Are people gonna buy it? And so that's kind of what I looked at is, are people actually interested in gonna buy it? And so with people pledging to donate either a certain amount of money or to actually get a hold of the product, that was really helpful.
Okay.
And the best part was what happened between then and the next summer, I guess you could say.
Okay.
People were messaging me on Instagram. People were emailing me saying, hey, what's going on with this project? Can I still get one of these? How's this going to work out? And that to me was more informative than the Kickstarter itself, because people were actually trying to spend some time reaching out to me and saying, hey, can we get this going? Is there any way? I had people from Utah and California saying, hey, does this need to get funded? How can we get this going? Kind of thing. So that to me was really helpful as far as saying, okay, we got to get this going.
So somewhere in there, you met the guys from PRX Performance. I mean, I absolutely love their brand. I have one or two of their products here, but the thing that I like about them is I remember seeing their actual Shark Tank appearance. I saw it live.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw it, and I remember immediately, because I'm like all into like the home gym stuff. So I'm sitting there, and it comes on, And that episode actually made me start watching Shark Tank, because I was like, oh, there's something to this, because otherwise I was like, I don't care about this. But so I sit up and I'm like, that's a home gym product. And as I'm watching, I'm like, oh, that's a big deal. This is a folding rack. This is going to be huge, right? And I see, and this actually relates to your story. So I see one by one all the sharks, even the Damon John, who was, into fitness, one by one, they're all like, oh, I'm out, because they couldn't see the benefits of the PRX folding rack for the home gym crowd. And they also didn't see how big a deal the home gym community was even before COVID, right? So I know now they're probably like kicking themselves because COVID hit. Now everybody wants a home gym. So I'm laughing like, ha. But anyway, but the point I'm making is, not only did they go ahead and have a contract with the last person who I thought would have done it, would have been, and it was Kevin. So they not only got a contract, so they had the experience of being on that end of it themselves, having somebody believe in them and in their product after they've put their heart and soul into it. But then they've also tried to continue to innovate products as their company has been around. So it seems to me like a natural fit for something that I can honestly say, and I always get in trouble when I say this because I have to defend myself. I can honestly say there's nothing else like the Thermabell Barbell Warmer on the market, right? First of all, did you reach out to them or did they reach out to you?
They reached out to me.
Okay. That's I didn't know that, but I was like, in my head, I said, if they see something like this, they're going to be like, their eyes are going to light up, because they're accustomed, they're like in innovation mode, if that makes sense, right?
Oh yeah.
So what was it that you were doing that caused them to reach out to you?
The Kickstarter. Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of funny how it worked. I don't know if it was a glitch in Instagram or what, but the message never popped up until about a year later. It popped up like 2 months ago or something like that, or even less. Okay. Yeah. So it popped up and I was like, I got pretty excited. I was like, oh, they heard about my Kickstarter. I sent the message to my brother, the one I was just messaging you about or telling you about. And he's like, this is huge, but it says 2019 on it. I was like, what? It just popped up. So I messaged PRX Performance back. I was like, hey, I got this a while ago, but it finally just showed up.
So they thought you were blowing them off.
I think so, yeah. Like, I'm too good for PRX Performance, or I don't know.
Snob.
Yeah, right? So, but yeah, they messaged me and said, hey, this is an awesome product. I saw it on Kickstarter. Can you send us a sample so we can start checking it out? So we got the ball rolling with it just a few weeks ago, and they were really quick to pick up on everything and get it into their store.
Well, okay. So when they reached out to you, you had already basically completed all the manufacturing. So you had units available to give to them, or did they have to help you get, kind of like get some traction?
No, so I already had the products by the time I was able to get back to them. Okay. So yeah, I was able to just send stuff over to them for that.
All right. So the Kickstarter ends and you didn't have enough money to really ramp things up, but you did have people who were reaching out to you asking for, to buy stuff. So did you just kind of like sink like your own money into it and say, okay, well, we'll make, let's say, a limited run. We'll make a few of them just to have on hand and start trying to sell this in small quantities?
We did a pretty good sized run. But yeah, it was my money. So being in physical therapy school, that's one part of the reason for the Kickstarter was broke college student,
Yeah.
So yeah. So now I've got a job. So, so that helped, I had a little bit of extra money where we can put it into getting barbell warmers mass produced.
That's a big deal though. Cause I mean, you said you had a baby on the way,
yeah.
And so then you tell your wife, hey, honey, I know you believe in this product, but guess what I need to do? I need to take some of our money. I finally got a job. Yay. Not we can buy stuff for the baby. No, let's get some barbell warmers out there.
I was a little more hesitant than she was, I kept having to check in with her. Like, do you think we should still do this? And she's like, yeah, I think it's a good idea. I was like, well, what if we don't reach the goal that we have and this and that? She's like, no, I think it's a good idea. We just need to do it.
Okay.
So she was kind of the main driver in me saying, okay, yeah, I'm going to actually pull the trigger on this and do it. She has a little bit more of a business background than I do.
Oh, okay.
Her father owns a business. And so she's worked for her father ever since she was a little girl pretty much. And so she knows a lot of the background stuff of how things happen with business in terms of shipping and things like that. So she helps actually. It's giving me a lot of that information. Otherwise, I'd be spending a lot more time on Google trying to figure that out. So
I understand.
yeah.
Nice. Okay, so so you're there like checking in with her, making sure she's not like packing her bags, and you're like, and she's actually
Yeah.
like, no, you need to do this, like pushing you. I've seen it. So she's encouraging, which is what a wife, husbands and wives supposed to do with each other. Like she's encouraging, like, look, I've watched this sort of process before. Don't give up now. So she told me multiple cool things with maybe without even realizing it. Because number one, you told me that the message from PRX Performance, you didn't see it until you were actually ready to take advantage of it. Because what if they had reached out to you and it was like when the Kickstarter, like you were in the middle of physical therapy school, you don't have time to develop the product. And you're just like, yeah, okay, I got about 2 hours I can give you this week and that's it. They're not going to take you seriously. They're like, okay, well, come back when you are serious or something like that. Instead, you're able to say, oh yeah, I got units, how many do you need? And you guys kind of work out that deal. So you didn't see the message until you were actually ready to take advantage of it. And then when you married your wife, you had no idea that, I'm assuming you didn't like put out a thing on match.com, like, hey, I need a wife whose dad owned a business and who can help me build my dream, my empire, so you didn't even realize you were getting that. So it's like a bunch of things came together for this product to actually happen multiple decades. Well, actually, so I said 1940s, that's like 100 years, right?
Getting up there, yeah.
It's almost 100 years of people have been working out with cold barbells before Greg showed up with the Thermabell Barbell Warmer. It's like some old former Olympic lifter, like, oh, finally, like that. So that really is super, super encouraging to me. What is it that you'd like for people to know as we wrap this up? What is it that you'd like for people to know about this product that they can't get from just seeing an Instagram video or even from seeing like an ad or something like that, or from reading your bio on, the thermabell.com website?
One of the biggest things is that there's really superior quality behind it. When I talked about how I was working throughout physical therapy school to figure this out, I spent literally years on it, figuring out the right way to set it up. And I stand behind right now as far as it being the best way to approach heating up a barbell. We've had other people saying, I've used space heaters for forever. I've used electric blankets. I've tried this and that. This is by far the best. It heats it from one end to the other, and it does an excellent job. And there's quality behind it. If you look at the sewing, if you look at how everything's put together, it's built to last. So, and aside from that, we try to supply the best customer service possible in terms of making customers happy and making sure that they're getting exactly what they want when they order a barbell warmer.
Let's talk about ways that people could get their hands on this thing if they need it, because you said that there are people already reaching out to you from Idaho, but I'm fairly certain the people in Wyoming, Oregon, there are Olympic lifters in a lot of cold places. I mentioned Minnesota. I'm going to reach out to, like I said, Babatunde, who lives, as I mentioned, in Minnesota. I'm going to reach out to him just so people know Greg isn't paying me for this interview. He's not paying me for any of this stuff. But when I see a product that I think can be of benefit to athletes who train at home, I want to get behind it as much as possible. And the other side of it is I am a media person. People don't really think about it that way, but I'm a journalist. So it's my job to tell people about things that exist. And this product happens to just have me excited, which is odd because I'm not really an intended recipient. You know what I mean? But
Right.
I just see the potential for a community that I really support and I've been a part of for 20 years. So let's get the word out there. How can people grab this for themselves? I know it's available with PRX and it's available with you. So tell them all of the ways they could buy a barbell warmer and learn more about the product, or even just follow the journey on social media.
So I would typically say visit thermabell.com, but we're sold out. So right now, the only way to get one would be through prxperformance.com. They've got the last barbell warmers for the season. So if you're interested, visit PRX Performance. Next season, visit thermabell.com. That'll be the best way. Right now, we're working on getting some out to the UK. So we're working on the process through that. But hopefully next season, we'll have some that we can ship overseas for that. But I would visit PRX Performance this season if you're interested in getting one. They'll have plenty to be able to ship out for you guys.